Goodell Multiverse Podcast, folks. We are in the multiverse minute, maybe 45 minutes of our episode. So if you're just watching this as a clip on YouTube, please check out the full video on YouTube or the full audio on any streaming platform of your choice.
Yep.
And so, my brother Ike, why don't you take it away with the first thing on our agenda?
All right. So we're
This
going
is-
to talk about Spider-Man again. So we got Spider-Man has some footage and posters. It's a brand new day footage and posters that they have released at uh I keep wanting to say Comic-Con, everybody, but it's but it's the Cinecon or CinemaCon or how do you say it?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah,
CinemaCon. Yep.
CinemaCon, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about these posters.
Oh,
And
gosh.
what do you think, Sam, on when you see these posters? Are posters a big deal to you? That's a good question with this one. I was wondering that when I was thinking about this the other night. Um, I do personally love a good movie poster, but what settles with you when it comes down to posters? And does it help move the needle? And what do you think about any of the footage that
Mhm.
we have?
Well, I do think personally that movie posters are important. I think they do help move the needle a little bit, especially to your casual moviegoer that may not be a Marvel fan, but they see a poster of something as they're walking
Mm,
into the theater or as it pops up online when they're looking up, hey, what's playing this weekend? We can go see. And that kind of catches people's eye. So
yeah.
I am a big fan of movie posters. So my brother knows this. I usually collect the Marvel movie posters whenever they come out, and of course they release like 3 or 4 different versions. So I picked the one that I feel like speaks to me the most. Is all this embodies the film to me better.
Yeah.
I like the ensemble posters that really has the main cast in it. So we didn't get those type of posters yet from the Spider-Man ones, but I gotta tell you, these ones, if you are a fan of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man 2,
Yeah, good point. I didn't even think about that till you
this
just said it.
one of these posters looks like, oh gosh, like a remix, like a updated version of
Yeah.
that with
Yeah.
like spitting image of Tom Holland's Spider-Man in his mask, and in his eye he sees MJ, where I think in Spider-Man 2 it's the same thing. He sees his MJ in the eye. It's just a actually it's a great compliment to what we know of the Spider-Man movie thus far. Because in Spider-Man 2 of Sam Raimi's trilogy, he was going through kind of a change of himself where he was losing some of his abilities
Right.
and things like that, and trying to figure out the the emotional part of being Spider-Man and balancing that. And from what we see so far of Brand New Day, Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is going through the same thing. Maybe a little more dramatic, but it's about the same thing. So,
So Brand New Day could be the Spider-Man 2 of Tom Holland's universe if you think about it.
mm,
I mean, it's you never know. That is a great poster. I do like it. I am personally when it comes down to posters, I'm not a fan of floating heads. Like, don't get me wrong, you can get a good poster with those, and it's kind of neat. But I like it when they get really creative. I'm more of a fan of the other poster that they have along with this one,
mm,
which shows him directly like going into combat with who we think is the Hand,
yeah.
and that's really cool because it's like a segment of the movie that is being highlighted. Um, but don't get me wrong, I did think about how much this new poster looks like the Spider-Man 2 poster, and in a lot of ways that it's kind of neat. I do like that too.
Mm,
Yeah, I posters sometimes don't mean a lot to me either. I like I said, I like them. A good one's a real good one. Um, but they don't really tell me much about the movie. I don't know if they get me too excited or not excited for a movie because you can take a real crap movie and have a really sweet poster. So sometimes that's how I take the posters. But hey, any kind of merchandise you can get, especially when it is something that you do like, this movie's awesome. And getting all the posters, that's a fun thing to do.
mm,
It's always fun getting like fun little gifts and stuff like that, and gives stuff for the movie theaters to put out there when they're promoting these. And
mhm,
is
yeah.
there anything you want to say about the footage that they talked about? I don't think that for me, I don't think there's anything too real significant other than I like the fact that I guess Ned is looking for Spider-Man because he's aware that Spider-Man saved his life,
Mm,
not knowing who he is. So that's got to be a very complicated feeling for Peter, knowing that, oh, that's me because I'm your best friend. And Ned's like almost obsessed with it. And actually, it kind of gives me story beat ideas about if this is a trilogy that's going to happen. Because what if this is their way they're going to turn Ned into a bad guy eventually?
So
And I think that'd be kind of neat. But I'll throw it to Sam because I have a feeling that was on his mind. So go ahead, Sam.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that because in the comics, not the Green Goblin, but the Hobgoblin,
Mhm.
one of his, uh, I guess you say, people that embodied the Hobgoblin, because I think sometimes in the comics, there's someone who takes on the mantle and someone who does this and that. But Ned is actually in the comics the Hobgoblin eventually.
Right, right.
And so I personally have speculated if they were going to do a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland and going forward that with Ned not remembering Tom Holland, what if you saw one of those cases where or Peter Parker, I keep saying Tom Holland, but differentiate Peter 3, Peter 2, whatever one it is. Peter 1. So I've always speculated myself, if I was going to continue the story and have Ned be a part of it, wouldn't that be interesting to see your best friend become maybe not your greatest villain, but one of your villains?
Well, it might
And
become his
that's
greatest, so really.
it could be, yeah, because to be honest, we already got Green Goblin with Willem Dafoe in here, so maybe they don't want to repeat Green Goblin specifically in him, but do Hobgoblin, which is a different character, but basically takes on the
That
similar
persona,
mantle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because technically Green Goblin was always kind of,
Mhm,
Toby's guy. He
mhm.
just happened to with that storyline of that one. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
I've
see
always
what you're
thought
putting down.
I
Yeah.
think I think that would be really cool and interesting storytelling, especially for character development for
Hmm.
Peter. And, so to me, that's the only thing that I got out of the. It really wasn't that consequential of the footage that they showed, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that when if you're thinking about bigger stakes, if they showed 15 minutes of Peter fighting a group of the task force that's in New York City or maybe Department of Damage Control officers, and then you find out who the heck Sadie Sink is in that. I feel like that would have been a little more of a, oh, this is how this movie's going to progress. Or maybe see what he and Bruce Banner are doing for those 15 minutes of footage. Oh, there you go. So I think that, and I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but I think that this footage was safe footage. It gave the audience something to chew on and something to think about, but nothing revealing enough to say what's actually going on in the movie. So the only thing that my fan theoriness was circling around in my brain was, oh, Ned's trying to find Spider-Man. He's trying to find him to thank him. But what if it's not thanking him? What if something had happened? Or in the course of this movie, him trying to find out who Spider-Man is to thank him turns into, I'm going to try to find him because whatever happens in this movie is something bad for him. And therefore, it turns into the obsession in a negative way, not I want to thank you and give you a hug type thing. It's more of a I want to kill you and I'm going to find out who you really are type thing. So, who knows how they could go with this? But Marvel and Sony, if you're writing this and you know about comic lore and it sounds like you do a pretty good job at most of it, then that's where I'd take it, that direction.
Yeah. Do you think, a question for you then, do you think, let's assume that this new Spider-Man is branching into another trilogy?
Mhm.
I think that's kind of the plan, right?
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, it's a safe bet to think that's probably a cool way to go. Do we hint Ned going bad from the first movie on, or is it something should be a surprise later? I personally think there should be a build.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like what did well in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy was Harry finding out in the second movie that Spider-Man was involved in his father's death, and you got to see him in the second movie figure out that that's Peter Parker, and then figuring out emotionally for the character how am I going to deal with it, and then you get to the third movie and he's the new Goblin, which is a brand new character, but so he's not the Hobgoblin in that trilogy, but it basically is kind of a copycat Green Goblin type thing. I feel like that brought a little more of an emotional beat for their relationship. And so I would do the similar thing with Ned and Peter. I would have it where, if not in this movie, by the next movie, something has turned where he's not only figuring out who Peter really is, or who is this Peter guy, because he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. He just knows from the footage that we know that that's MJ's new neighbor there.
Yeah.
For however that plays out, we have yet to find out. But I think him figuring out that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the one and the same, and then whatever events lead up to it, I would rather, like you said, have more of a build up to it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the emotional part of it would be so. That's one of the things that's made Green Goblin in particular Spider-Man's main arch enemy. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, Venom is Spider-Man's main arch enemy." Well, Spider-Man has a huge rogues gallery. Everyone who's a bad guy in the Spider-Man universe wants to get rid of Peter. But arguably, why they chose Green Goblin in the first trilogy and why he's remained in the Andrew Garfield films and why he became such a big deal in No Way Home is because Green Goblin is Spider-Man's main
Yeah,
adversary.
I've never read a Spider-Man comic book once in my life, and I've always had the impression that Green Goblin is the
Yep. Yep. So if
and
there
maybe it is because it was the first villain in the movies, but I've always known that Venom was a big deal, but I always thought Venom was one of those characters that got developed because the character got big and they needed a direction to go.
Yep.
And not that Venom's not cool as hell, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you clarified
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
That's my interpretation of the Spider-Man comics is that Green Goblin is his bad guy. Even in all the animated Spider-Man movies and films and
it's always
the
been that.
TV shows,
Yeah.
Green Goblin has been the biggest affront to him.
Mm.
Um, so I think if they're trying to recreate that for the MCU and not do an exact copycat of what we've seen of him already, this is the way to go.
Yeah, yeah, no, good point. I got two things to add to that for fun. One of the ways I would do it, I almost would love for them, like, Ned's looking for who Spider-Man is because he saved their lives. And with the events of whatever happens in this movie, Ned's opinion of Spider-Man changes. But I think it'd be fun. So we don't like repeat arcs that we've seen before. It'd be fun if that's kept to Ned's self though. So maybe by the end of this movie, it'd be kind of neat if Peter is able to, like, I finally get to tell my best friend I'm Spider-Man, not knowing that his opinion of him has changed.
Hmm. Yeah.
So then, so then they're friends. While Ned now is like, wait a minute, like you're him, and we used to be best friends. And I think that it'd be more fun than Peter knowing he's got to hide it from him because he hates Spider-Man. It'd be fun if Peter thinks everything's good when it's not, because then an emotional hit later could be better. That I have a real super hot take about that. I'll tell you right now. I
I
think I do. I may be wrong, but anything I've looked up online, maybe other people feel the same. I doubt it, but because I haven't heard a lot about it. But I truly believe that the chemistry between Tobey Maguire and James Franco as friends and turning into this is better than Tom Holland and I can't remember what's his name.
Ned
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Jacob Barton, I
Thank
believe.
you. Yeah, yeah.
I might have got
I'm not saying they're not great
Jacob.
together as good friends and stuff. I like the other two better. I think they sell it more. I think that's one of the most underrated things about the Tobey movies is James Franco's part.
I I do agree about that.
Yeah,
I have to really for myself really watch the two of them and their interactions on both the Peter and Ned and Peter and Harry to see. But I do remember the Tobey Maguire
yeah.
Peter and Harry. They were like best buds. It was like a
It just felt
brothership.
more real.
Yep. Yep.
And
They
these guys are
established it
great.
so well.
These and like I said, I'm not saying these guys are bad. I mean for these guys too.
Mm.
I just don't feel like we've had the heartwarming moments between them that we did to the others. You know, like
Mhm.
Peter in these movies have been, I'd say about 90% comical moments. They get along as friends, and they're funny together, and that's worked real well. It makes it endearing, right? But not many times is there like a very soft moment between them about life and like what's happening. That's usually between Peter and MJ, which is fine because the love of his life, and that was what was lacking in the Toby one was their romance wasn't there. We just were to think it was something that was always there, and it didn't feel like it was. When like between Franco and Toby, they found this we can kid with each other, but there's a care there. That's when he does find out that Peter's Spider-Man. It's not easy for him to want to kill him, even though he does eventually try to. And it's he struggles with it because it's like, oh, this is someone that I've really cared about, but it's also my dad we're talking about.
Mhm.
So and of course it's not just his dad, but it's the crazy side of his dad that he's fighting. So it makes it even harder. So yeah, but that's just I don't know how
No.
I'm glad you feel the same way, but I feel like not a lot of people do feel that way about it. So
Mhm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I will just say, just to put a close to this,
yeah,
that we already found out in No Way Home that Ned has some magical tendencies and
yeah, that's
ties with his
right.
ancestries, and Hobgoblin in the comics uses magic more than tech.
It's happening, folks.
So, Marvel, it's right there. If you do
They're
not
gonna do
bake
it.
this cake
They're gonna do it.
and serve it, then what are we doing? It'll be one of, and I'll hold your feet to the fire for this. It'll be one of the most missed opportunities in the Spider-Man universe that you've created for the MCU, and
Yeah,
we get to those in the movies when we talk
yeah.
about them.
Honestly, I think even more evidence towards they're gonna do it is the fact that even they made a joke about it in No Way Home.
Yes,
Because everything that's happened to
yes,
Peter, everything that's happened to the other two Spider-Men, I think is going to happen to Peter.
hmm
I think that even it's a multiversal thing, I think there is a theme of who you are as a character. It might be a different way of getting there, but you're still going to get to the same place. So, his Aunt May was their uncle rather than Aunt May, but just so on and so forth, right? So I think that Peter needs a a character in his life that does betray him
yeah,
because the other two know what that feels like.
hmm
And that's something that I would think that if there's anything that he hasn't gone through yet, really, is that kind of betrayal.
yep, yep,
If you think
exactly.
about it, when it comes down to it character wise,
hmm
the idea of someone that close turning on you,
hmm
it's going to happen.
And
For
that's
sure.
part of Peter Parker's lure. And this is actually a
Correct.
perfect time
Yeah.
because we've always talked about that the Homecoming trilogy here is Peter growing up. And now at the end of No Way Home, he is the Spider-Man that we know from the comics. He has gone through that origin. This really is an origin
The
trilogy.
3 arc origin. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's beautifully done, like
Beautifully. Yep.
really well done. So now, if we're getting a new trilogy, this is the young adulthood Spider-Man, where he's seen some things in life, and part of his growing up experience, and now growing into the man he's going to become of Spider-Man, is what happens when a close friend
Mm,
that you thought was your best friend betray
yeah.
you.
And the
And
drama could be so much better because he has
mm,
no more net now because he's alone.
yes,
There's no more Tony Starks
yep,
or Aunt Mays or Happies or friends or
hmm
it's you're gonna deal with this on your own.
yep.
And that's something that's as a someone
Oh,
turning into an adult. Yeah, I
I
think
got
that's what
shivers thinking about this.
honestly, I'm not even gonna call it missed opportunity unless they don't do it.
Yep.
But I actually kind of feel like that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. If they get to the end of this
Yeah.
trilogy and they have not established Ned
Then we got a problem.
as
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Hobgoblin and a friend betrayal type of a scenario, then yeah, that I will call it then a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So Sony, Marvel, you got 2 more films, including this one. Well, 3 films then to figure this out.
See, we don't need Jean Grey in this movie. We just need Ned.
Exactly.
We got X-Men coming, guys.
Leave
Anyway.
her alone. Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what your thoughts are on this topic. What was your favorite poster from the Spider-Man Brand New Day reveal at the CinemaCon, that the Cinnabon, and let us know what you thought of the footage. It's from my understanding, has is the footage released?
I don't know. I
I
know there's a descriptors that, like a lot of podcasters are doing it.
Yeah,
John Campy and them do a real good job at breaking it down, but
I don't think they released the
I
footage though
don't
for
think
this
that's
guy.
been released yet. No,
All right, well, when that eventually
I
does,
bet it does
which
soon.
if it doesn't, then we're definitely going to see the movie anyways,
Yeah,
and that's coming out in just like 3 months. So stay tuned, folks. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought. And now we're on to our next news topic. So, Marvel layoffs from Disney. Now, I'm going to read to you about this because I want to make sure I get all the facts right on this. And then you're going to hear my brothers and I reaction to this and what our 2 cents are on it. All right, so I'm reading to you from screencrush.com. Disney lays off nearly the entire visual department team at Marvel Studios. Let's see. A month into the new Disney CEO, Josh Dama- Damaro's tenure, he announced in a memo to the company earlier this week that around 1,000 jobs would be eliminated. Among the divisions hit particularly hard by the cuts is a key group within Marvel Studios, the visual department team, which is involved in the design of each Marvel film and TV production, and is particularly known for their ingenious translations of Marvel's signature comic book costumes into live action that actual human beings can wear. According to Forbes, Disney's layoffs hit Marvel hard, with the company losing staff from both New York and Burbank across most areas of the organization, including film and TV production, as well as comics, franchise, finance, and legal. That includes the nearly entire Academy Award winning visual department team at Marvel Studios. Among those affected, let's see, there was a concept artist that sent a tweet out that I actually showed this to my brother earlier, saying the irony of having one-on-one HR layoff meeting in the conference room where my Loki mural is on it. If that doesn't like stick a knife right into you folks, I don't know what does, to be honest. So that's all I'm gonna read of this at this time. It's quoted as saying that there is now just a skeleton crew of the full-time production staff remaining in place to coordinate the hiring of resources on a per project basis now. I will say one last thing that the CEO of Disney has stated that one of the reasons is to slim down all their studios that they're working on, all the departments that they have within Disney, and that they're saying they are not doing as many projects as they had been for the past couple of years. So that is one of the reasons for the layoffs. So, what are your initial reactions and thoughts about this?
Well, I got a couple different feelings about this. Um, from a business end, I understand what's happening. It's we're we've made a lot of products. They have found that their TV section for Marvel itself has been not doing so well when it comes down to the way they want it to be received, and they've already talked about how that's going to get cut back, and there's going to be less of them, and we're not going to be doing 6 movies a year, or if they want, or whatever, it's some crazy number that they had discussed before. So yeah, if you don't have the need for that department to be as prevalent, then that's fine. Now, this is Disney. This is just from Marvel Studios, correct? It's not.
It's company wide. It was
So
like
yeah,
over a
being
thousand
company
jobs.
wide, I think is
But
more concerning than anything else, in my opinion. If it was just Marvel's side of it, I would see that okay, we're cutting down, so that's what we're doing. But being company wide, you're talking about Disney makes a lot of stuff, guys. Like it's beyond Marvel movies at this point when it comes down to special effects. I would say not the majority of Disney movies kind of rely on some type of special effects, if not animation, right? At least anything that's big when it comes down to big budget or making any kind of significant box office, is usually special effects things. With that said, maybe that they're cutting down on all of that, which is kind of a good thing. I mean, Disney kind of already owns the world as it is. Um, and I think that, cutting back in an area where you're not going to be using it a lot more is a great way to find some of that extra money. I think that the other side of it, that's a little more just like a personal feeling about it, is you are one of the biggest companies in the world that runs a lot of things when it comes down to resorts and TV shows and television and movies and games. And I mean, like we can go on and on about the products Disney has, and to hear of any kind of layoffs just to save a few bucks here and there kind of is it's a little distasteful, I feel. I get it. Why have the redundancy? That's why it's a hard argument to have. But from someone like me who, I'm 3 paychecks away from, being in trouble kind of thing, I don't know what it's like to get a guaranteed 32 million dollars on just my subscription plans, no matter what year, whether I put crap out or not. And so when I hear that kind of stuff, it kind of, yeah, it sucks to see people lose their jobs. The good thing is these guys are excellent at what they do. They'll find work. There's other studios still. They might get rehired for projects, and then because I think that's kind of what they're going to do is start outsourcing some of these things because the special effects isn't going to go away. They're still going to need it, so they're going to have to either hire out or the skeleton crew will do the best they can. We don't want to see the skeleton crew not be able to do the special effects because there's too much, so that we'll have to source some of it out. So we'll get to maybe see different kinds of special effects that's going on out there. Different groups, the studios are making them, and they look a little different. It's nice. So I think there's a lot of good and bad in this. I understand it. It feels a little distasteful. I feel bad for the people that lost their jobs. I know that they were compensated pretty good though, so it's not. I feel like they're going to find work as well because they've worked in with a company that's made what they've made. And you can see their work on, they got a good resume from where they're coming from. But yeah, I would feel a little upset if I'm sitting in a meeting and the guy firing me has my opinion behind him. Like,
Oh,
really? You're firing me for the thing that you got hanging in your office?
ow.
It's like, yeah, it's a little, it's in, you know, uh, yeah. And I just saving money. It's like, why don't we just not spend as much money then? Because I got to be honest, one of the things I love the movie industry, guys. I love movies. I hate Hollywood though, and the way it's run. Or I mean, it's because it's not run. It's kind of a wild west. There's a lot of money being exchanged, and I get it. There are things that cost money. I know that. I'm not an idiot, but sometimes you kind of like, that's how much this person's getting for that? Holy moly. There's a lot of money involved here. And when you're talking about someone's lives, you spend your life working hard to do this kind of work, which to me, arguably, is some of the most important stuff. If your special effects is off, if your music is off, your lights off, your sound is off, your stages don't look good, the makeup looks bad, all those things have a very key little moment that make what you're making come to life. So to take one of them and feel like we can just do without this for a while, eh, it kind of feels a little underhanded. So Disney, could you really afford to keep them? Yeah, what's the problem here? You know, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. But that's also just my personal feeling. As a company, though, if I was running a company that was worried about my money and where it's going and every little dime of it, then yeah, if you don't need them, you don't need them. And that's kind of, so it's mixed feelings, but it's also something I try not to bother myself with because you're talking the kind of money I'll never see in 10 years. So how do you feel about it, Sam?
Well, I do have a couple thoughts about this myself, and I have a hot take for this too, in particular. So, it's worth mentioning that the new Disney CEO had recently, I'm not sure how recent it was, but it was since he started his tenure. Um, he had a discussion about AI, and he made the comment that we are not going to make films using AI to replace people, but we'll use our creative teams will use it as a tool, which is the typical sentiment that you're hearing in Hollywood now. That there is a whole reason behind some of the strikes that happened recently and things like that was they wanted to make sure to preserve filmmaking as we know it, and it's not taken over in any department by greedy companies that wanted just AI to do it where a human normally would have done it. So I get it, and that sounds like that type of sentiment. One of my worries is I wonder if they're saying one thing and they're gonna try it out secretly in another way. So I don't say that to say they are going to rely heavily on AI to do some of these special effects. I do believe him when he says that they're going to use it as a tool, but I wonder if using it as a tool means that it does take away jobs and that what would take 3 or 4 people to edit a certain scene will now only take 1 or 2 people. And it trickles down from there. And another thing I'll say while we're chewing on this is that it is true that they have been deciding to roll back some of their films that they're doing, like the release schedule. I know they've made a decision. Kevin Feige has spoken openly about this, about the TV side of things. He doesn't want it to feel like homework anymore. So therefore, after Vision Quest, moving forward, we're not going to have to rely on the TV shows as much to get what's going on in the films. Hopefully that does remain true because he said this before, it backtracked, and now we're doing it again. So I feel though they've learned their lesson enough that
Yeah, me
they're going
too.
to try doing that. And it does go, there is some proof behind some of this when they've tried to backtrack it. For instance, in 2024, we've only had one MCU film that was Deadpool and Wolverine. And in 2026 that we're in right now, we're only having one MCU film made by Disney, so not including Spider-Man. That's its own separate thing. But um, it's Avengers Doomsday. Then next year in 2027, we only have Avengers Secret Wars. So for that, you have a little bit of proof there to back up your statement. However, I will note that we have pending dates for May 5th, 2028, July 28th, 2028, and December 15th, 2028. And then in 2029, we have May 4th, 2029, July 13th, 2029. So far confirmed as slots that they've placed in their calendar for Marvel Studios films. So, are you really dialing it back? Or was this a temporary soft pause and then you're just gonna keep on going? And if that's the case and these dates do stick, because they're subject to change, they can easily fill that with another Disney property like a Pixar movie or Disney animation or what have you. But if these do stick, how much have you actually then scaled back?
Mm,
That's just one part of that, I would say. Um, my hot take is this isn't gonna last.
mm,
I think that you either are gonna get, I wouldn't say you're gonna get a writer strike type of a situation. You may get some ruffle of feathers when it comes to that aspect of the movie making business, of course, because that's a big deal when you're like the biggest company is laying off almost an entire division of one of the most successful franchises in the film industry and in the world. You are bound to get some pushback from not only writers but directors and artists, actors, things like that. You're going to hear it. So this isn't, I found it funny that they released this almost like in the middle of the night as a memo right before their Disney presentation the next day, because I feel like that was their way of, we're gonna get it out there, kind of like the Epstein Files thing. We're gonna get it out there, that memo, and we're not just gonna talk about it. We're gonna cover it up with some other newsworthy thing.
yeah.
So that, I mean, that's just the politics of it. But anyways, um, I don't predict this is gonna last. I think that they are going to backtrack on this and they're going to do kind of like a growing pains like they have done since Infinity War. I'm sorry, the Infinity Saga was over. And they were like, oh, more Disney Plus shows. We're going to prioritize that. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, the movies are going to be this way. We're going to jump on to this. And then they realized this was a mistake. Quality and quantity, you can't swap them around and think it's going to work. And I have a feeling they're going to get the same thing again, just in a different department. And so maybe we'll get better quality storytelling of the films because they've learned that lesson. But we'll see how heavy they're going to do on the visual effects and what's that going to affect the look of the MCU moving forward and see if they're going to make another change. I don't think it's going to last. That's just my hot take. Maybe I'm proven wrong, but that's my 2 cents about it.
Are the dates you mentioned, are those specifically Marvel films?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
They are, Disney put them on the calendar for specific Marvel Studio films, theatrical releases.
And it's theatrical releases.
Yep.
Okay.
No idea exactly what they are. And
Yeah.
it's so early on
Because
that,
part of me was like, those could be TV shows, but if it's specifically theatrical releases, and that is a lot. Yeah. It's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it,
You make good
if you
points.
look back at phase one, phase two, and phase three, you were able to see in Marvel where they're able to do a slow progression from 2 films a year to 3 films a year, and it didn't change the quality. It didn't, it increased the quantity without making it oversaturated for the market. They were spaced out properly. There were different flavors of films. You had a Guardians, and then you had a Captain America the same year, things like that. So they could do it. I'm not saying that they should go the 4 films a year or onward, but if their idea was to progress in that state, I feel like they could do it. I don't know if it would be as successful. I kind of think they should stick to the formula they already have now that
Mm,
was working, before they tried to experiment with the Disney Plus side of things and more type thing. So last year, 2025, we had 3 films. They didn't do as high, but that's because Marvel got into a little bit of a low, and the one film really left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And unfortunately, Marvel, when you make one film and you're like, it's okay, this one isn't as good because the next 2 are great, you've already put that taste in people's mouths where do we want to even see your next film? And that's why I think suffered Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four in the box office mostly, because those are great films. And Captain America did make Brave New World did make more money than those other two, but it was such a poor quality of a movie and not what people were expecting that you now have put a damper on your future projects. Thankfully, though, I will say Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four were really good films, and it really makes us anticipate Doomsday even better. Because had those been failures too, we would have been looking at each other and having a different opinion on Doomsday. But I digress on that part.
There's more wrong with why those didn't work than that, but you are right. The one didn't help
Mm.
being bad. The more you stay good, the more confident people are to watch your movies. And whether you know it, like it or not, the general public will go see something that the fans of that thing are speaking a lot about. They might not, the general public might not care if the next movie's good or bad, and like us Marvel nerds would. But they do hear us, Marvel nerds, and say, "Hey, look, the Marvel guys are saying this is good. Let's go see it."
Mhm.
You know, and just like any action movie, you know, or any horror movie. Oh, look, the guys that like horror movies are saying this is the best thing they've ever seen. Let's go see it. You know, then that's where you get your people that usually don't watch horror movies going and watching a horror movie. You never think they would because everyone's raving about it, and the ones raving about it are the true, real fans. So you need to think of catering to both, right? You got to make it for the general audience, but you also got to make the nerds, the ones that are going to watch these no matter what you do right now, got to like it too. Because when you start losing those guys, that's when your average Joe is going to be, look, my buddy loves Marvel, and he says not to waste your time with the new one. So we're not gonna because I don't care so much about Marvel, but I go if he's excited.
Yep.
And if Deadpool Wolverine didn't prove that to y'all, then I don't know what else can.
Yeah.
Because everyone went and watched that because everybody was excited. All the nerds were like, "Yes, we want this." No one on your average person out there didn't really know what big a deal that was. They just went and watched a really fun movie, and then it was good, and it just got had the legs and did what it did. But if it wasn't for us nerds hyping that up, it wouldn't have mattered,
Mhm.
you know.
I
And
agree.
I think that's a lot to do with it. So yeah, you get your quality's got to stay there, guys. And when you do this kind of stuff, Disney's known for this. And this is some of the things I have an issue with Disney itself. They make a lot of knee jerk reactions to something. And I'm not saying something caused this to happen, but it's like someone had this cool idea that, oh, it's just how we'll save this. We got some idea where we need another $2 extra billion. So let's start getting rid of this part of this company. Not thinking ahead that, well, wait a minute, we still want to do 3 movies next year. So does that mean we're going to overwork the guys we got and hire out? Well, are you saving money at that point? I don't know. It's a good point, Sam.
Yeah. All right. Well, the question is for you guys. The Marvel layoffs just happened, and so was it happen for the industry? What does it mean for Marvel Studios? What do you guys think? Are you in favor of this? Are you not in favor of this? Jump down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. All right, so the last topic of our multiverse minute news section. Ike, why don't you start us off?
Yes. So it looks like people at CinemaCon, I always do that, guys. I apologize. At CinemaCon, got to see a exclusive Avengers Doomsday trailer. CinemaCon attendees got to experience an exclusive first look at the Avengers Doomsday trailer hosted by Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. Avengers versus X-Men versus Doom.
Mm.
So that's what happened, and I'm thought maybe what we'll do is we both have read uh and listened to a few people talk about the breakdown of it. We'll just go through like point by point, go back and forth on what we think of that point, maybe give a little overall thing at the end of it. We'll try not to make this too long, but this is a really big one. So
Mm.
this is one this is some of the reason why we're doing this podcast is marching to Doomsday. So this is that big movie, guys, that we can't wait to get to and really enjoy and have a good time with. So why don't you start off, Sammy? What do you think? What was the first thing that you remember? I'm trying to think what the first thing they said they saw in the trailer was.
So the first thing that I'll say about it so far is that we've heard a couple different conflicting reports of exactly what happened. Some minor little details that one attendee would say, and then another one would say something that's similar but a little different.
Yeah.
And so we never went, and so we have no idea. And most of the attendees, they're just trying to do this from memory because they weren't allowed to record it with their phones. They actually were, from my understanding, escorting people who were pulling their phones out during it.
Wow.
So they were making sure this trailer stays airtight in that arena, whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
So kind of bummed they didn't release it right afterwards online so the whole world can just see it and we don't have to guess, was this person in it, was this person not in it, did this person lift up this or this person lift up this, things like that.
Yeah.
And we mean say that in a moment. But from my understanding of the trailer, Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom is heavily involved in it.
Yep. Yep.
You do get your first look at Dr. Doom um in all his glory.
If I'm not mistaken, it starts out with hearing him talk too, right? Like,
Yep.
Doom is narrating a lot, or at least the beginning part of this trailer that we've heard.
Yep.
And you get to hear his Latvian accent, which which all of them have said is that's been a lot of the stuff we'll say, "God, we'll tell you when we think it's something that's different." But this was something that we heard from everybody.
Mm.
That you get his Latvian accent, you do get a good shot of him kneeling down. That's where some of the things get conflicting. Some say that his mask is off
Mhm.
and you get a reveal of his face right in the beginning, and some say the mask is on. I feel like the mask is probably on. I feel like that's something but yeah, so what do you think of this? I mean, I can't wait to hear his voice personally.
I can't wait either. From everyone that has, everyone agrees that if you did not know Robert Downey Jr. was Doctor Doom, you would not have guessed it from his voice. That's how good of voice acting he did for developing a European accent.
Yeah,
I'm not specifically sure because we haven't heard it yet, like where it sounds like he derived this accent from, but it's very distinguishable. And so that's cool that RDJ is committed to the role of Victor Von Doom and things like that. So even though this is probably going to be his 1 out of 2 movie gig for this, because that's what it seems like they're going to be doing, he's giving it his all in his comeback here as an actor in the studio. So
yeah, and the voice thing's a big deal because you often hear when there's castings of big characters, or something's very anticipated in other movies. And you get those little snippets of, oh, what do they sound like? I remember the first time they heard, Heath Ledger talking as a Joker, or even Tom Hardy as Bane. And that one kind of got a lot of crap, which is funny because it's fantastic. I mean, I don't know why that always got a lot of crap, but and Heath with Joker was great, and we're getting a lot of similar reactions from people that I've been reading and listening to, saying that it's unbelievably good. That it's something that at least the voice so far for them is not, you know, showing any signs of, oh, this character could be weird. It sounds like it's very serious and he's doing that. And that's Robert Downey Jr., man. He's good. I've no doubt in his acting capability of him playing this part. My concern has always been what Doom's deal is, where he's from and why, what it means moving forward. But if we're gonna take it just for this movie so far, yeah, I can't wait to hear his voice. And yeah, bring it to us, guys. We want to hear it.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think um I'm trying to remember specifics on like the trailer, how it started and when it went, but I'm just gonna go through what I do remember or some of the highlights of it. What depending on what order they're in, we won't know.
Yeah,
As just us average schmucks until it's released onto YouTube. So please, Marvel, do us a favor, just release it. You got it done. It sounds amazing. No matter who you hear it from, everyone is blown. Like their
yeah,
mind is blown. We've even heard some insider reports of people who have seen like the first cut of the film and they're comparing it to Infinity War level like excitement or that it's even better than Infinity War, which I gotta tell you, big
yeah.
that's a pretty big
It's a high bar.
deal. Yeah, high
Yeah,
bar. Yeah. Yeah. So from what I gather people have been saying is that it starts off with Xavier and a new shot of him in the X Mansion looking out the window and seeing an incursion happening in front of his eyes. That's where you see the X-Men fighting the Avengers, and Doom is in the midst of it, but it's a little unclear if Doom's part of the Avengers, if he just tagged along with them, if he's his own thing, but it definitely is. Doom is kicking some butt. from my understanding. Like
Hmm.
there is definitely some sort of war going on, and um, what I found that was interesting is if you remember all the teasers that came out and in front of Avatar, because like Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, every weekend, or every week I should say, they put forth a new teaser of Doomsday. So that's when you got um the Chris Hemsworth Thor teaser. You got Chris Evans confirmed to come back. You got the X-Men teaser, and then you got the Fantastic Four meeting the Wakandans teaser and stuff like that. Though that last one right there, it gets expanded upon in this trailer, and it's showing that the desert that they're walking on is not actually a desert,
Right.
but it's in fact probably Namor doing this because he does have water manipulation abilities in the comics. It's actually they're going to Atlantis or what's it actually called Talokan,
Yeah.
like right. They're splitting the water open Moses style from the Bible. Like that's some pretty cool,
Yeah,
impressive.
it's really the ocean floor is what they're standing on.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Oh,
is kind of interesting.
that just sounds so cool. It makes me
Yeah.
think, oh, I can't wait to see that scene. Um, your predictions for CinemaCon for this panel was that we would see a trailer,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
and that you were very, um, how do I say, kind of low on your expectations. You're like, I'm just expecting one thing. Where I just was shooting for the stars, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna see a trailer. You're gonna see cast walk out on stage. You're gonna hear new characters confirmed. Um, and of those things, technically, you did get cast walk out on stage,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's not what I was trying to invoke. I was thinking, oh, new cast members make your grand appearance, but they so in a little bit of that, you did see Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans come out, introduce the trailer, talk about it, have this little Civil War rivalry still going on, which is kind of cool. Um, and then the trailer did confirm a new cast member in Ant-Man's daughter,
That's right.
Cassie Lang.
That's right.
She is in the trailer, and then later on, the actress went onto her Instagram and confirmed with a tiny little chair that she is in fact in the movie. So there was a new cast announcement. It was just very subtle and like Ant-Man, very small, and you could have missed it. So
Yeah, and that proves to me that Chair Watch was just a beginning of this is what's going to be in this movie,
mm,
and clearly there's going to be surprises. I think we said it. I even said it to you today that just because all the X Men aren't listed in Chair Watch and they're still denying being in it, I feel like they've went to everybody to get as many as they possibly could. And I don't know what's going on in their lives and their jobs and whether they want to do them or not. But a couple of them have said that they definitely would come back, and they're not, confirmed to be casted yet. But I'm telling you, folks, I mean, if I had to predict we're going to get into this movie, we're probably going to see as many of them as they possibly could have got. I wouldn't. I would be surprised if we don't get the entire cast back from the old X Men. Yeah, with that said, one of the things they talked about was I was kind of surprised to hear this trailer had a lot of Thor heavy stuff going on.
oh yeah, so it makes it sound like at least by this trailer is that Thor is your central character in the film.
Or at least in the trailer for sure,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we haven't seen the trailer, so we don't know how that feels yet. But you're
Yep.
right. It seems to be. I guess they described scenes of him rallying people together in Avengers Tower, which is a group of them, which is a lot of people. I guess it's the Thunderbolts, a Fantastic Four, and a bunch. And he's kind of giving them his speech about how he's seen people get killed by lesser villains that he wasn't as afraid of as Doom. So he's begging people to put their differences aside and let's rally together because this guy's coming. This guy's hardcore. And then they describe a super epic shot of Thor charging up a
Storm.
Stormbreaker, thank you, and jumping in the air with electric and coming down at Doom. And John Campea says that all Doom did was put two fingers up
Mm-hmm.
and stop
Yep.
Stormbreaker.
Like
Yeah.
just to demonstrate how powerful he is, which is they're gonna need honestly, that was one of my thoughts about this film going into it, is that they didn't do any lead up to Doom, whereas at
None.
least they were preparing for the Kang Dynasty when that was the title and that was the direction they were going in. And I love how they tried to do this little thing of, oh no, we're pivoting away from that. We actually had this plan all along. Be like, I don't think you did, but whatever. You're doing it. But regardless, they're definitely gonna have to, because Thanos was kind of like a slow build, and you got to see from the very beginning of the post-credits scene of the first Avengers film, he is out there and he definitely wants to challenge the Avengers, and then you just see it build up in little teases here or there, Guardians of the Galaxy cameo here,
Hmm.
and post-credit scenes here. The fine, I'll do it myself, all that stuff, and you get to see it build up to that, and the anticipation just kept growing in each phase. They weren't able to do that with Doctor Doom because of this last-minute change, and I'm sorry, it kind of was last minute, or at least
Oh,
to
for
the
sure.
audience, it was last minute. So you didn't, if you did intended this Marvel to be that way, you kind of fumbled the ball on that. But regardless, this is what we got. And so you're going to need to show to the audience, to the Marvel fans, to everyone, that Doctor Doom is going to be that level of a threat. And I was trying to pull it up here real quick because I wanted to make sure I got the wording right. But I've heard a number of people say this exact same dialogue that Thor gives when he's
Oh, yeah.
trying to rally everyone together. He says something to the degree, and forgive me because I didn't hear it. That he says, "I have fought beside heroes greater than you who have fallen to face threats that pale in comparison to this threat."
Yeah.
Something to that degree. I know they didn't use the word comparison. They said it in the Thor Viking Asgardian type of way. But whenever you do hear that specific dialogue, was just genius dialogue. Whoever
Yeah.
wrote that, that was
Yeah.
amazing. And I wish I had the direct quote in front of me. But when the actual trailer does come out, ladies and gentlemen, we will do a reaction for you, so you
Oh, for sure.
get to see it, and we get to definitely relive it every single second. Um, that did when I did hear those were his words, sent kind of a chill down my spine, thinking, "Oh, they're making Thor, who arguably is one of the strongest Avengers out there, um, recognize that even because he quivered at Thanos. So if he thinks that Thanos is lower of a threat than Doom, it makes me wonder: one, what did he see to make this happen? When did this dialogue take place? This could be at the very end, just as a battle cry type thing or rallying cry. We don't know, but it's just so much happening.
Yeah, it seems like Thor knows something, so we're gonna be seeing what that means, and where that's coming from.
Because
And
he's seen a lot of stuff.
yeah, yeah, but he's never mentioned Doom, so we're gonna have to be brought in on whatever that is. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting to know that that is a threat. I kind of sometimes I worry about power levels in the MCU. It's like we don't want to be too powerful to leave out our small characters, but we don't want to be not powerful enough to not make sense on being a threat. So sometimes it's like meh, the rules here and there, Ben, which is fine as long as it's not really weird. Um, I think that'll work out good. I think it sounds great with that in mind. And one of the other things I heard that sounds really exciting is I guess there's quite a long epic fight scene between Channing Tatum's Gambit and Shang-Chi.
Yes, yeah, that sounds cool. Whatever they showed, because I mean, we can only imagine, but and
They
it's
make it
not.
sound awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like we should be surprised at that, but because we know they're both in the film and everything. But it's when you actually hear that there's a description of that out there, and that's what the people saw,
Yeah.
then it gets like all the X-Men and Avengers are actually coming together type thing. So that's kind of cool.
I remember John Campea saying there's lots of shots of Xavier and Magneto. He says there's lots of shots of Cyclops. Nothing in particular stands out other than you seeing them. I'm sure this trailer's got a lot of moments that cut real quick, and there's probably things that they're even forgetting to say, truthfully. That Gambit thing just reminds me that I remember when we watched Deadpool Wolverine, and at the end when you see Gambit doing his thing, the first thing I thought was, wow, what a missed opportunity they had back in the day of making him Gambit. Because how awesome! And I actually, when that movie was done, I kind of was sad thinking that's one of those times where they threw a fun cameo in that I'm just like, man, that's too bad. I wish they'd do that again.
Yeah,
And of course, thank God, here we are. And I guess he's in it and he's doing it again, and it's going to be awesome.
yeah,
So that's cool.
yeah.
And of course, we haven't seen this yet, so it might not be as awesome. But man, everybody that I've heard, they sound ecstatic
Oh,
about what it
yeah,
is.
totally. It sounds cool. The another thing, the point that stuck out to me because that's one of the characters I've been most anticipating to see. Is do you actually get to see Mystique transform
Oh, that's
in the
right.
trailer, and
Yeah,
transforms into Yelena Belova, and see Yelena fighting Yelena, and that
that's
just
cool.
sounds so cool.
And Mystique's in her like a white, like
Yep.
a new haircut with the white
Yep.
costume, like the old school. I mean, wow, yeah, guys, that sounds
I
so
mean,
good.
I will have to say, and I mean this with full respect, of course, but when I saw Chair Watch and Rebecca Romaine's name came up, my immediate thought was, "Oh my gosh, we're getting blue boobs again." And I say that as like a term of endearment because really, the Bryan Singer and his team there, they kind of reinvented how Mystique looked for the films, and
Yeah,
such a unique. It made her. I'm sorry to anyone who was a fan of hers in the comics and thought that she was just popular there. She is good in the comics, but it just heightened her
oh,
profile.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
that look always is like burned in my brain of just the still image of what Mystique looked like in X-Men 1. And so part of me was anticipating to actually see that again. But I get it. They want to do the comic accurate outfits, and it's Disney, so they might not be that edgy to do the supermodel completely naked, blue skin, scaly skin type look. But from my understanding, she does still have those scales on her face. It's just they've given her the classic white outfit that she's known for.
yeah. I think that's just them kind of doing this whole we're committing to the old costumes,
Yeah.
like, and I think that's smart. Really. I mean, what Rebecca did with it originally is, I mean, if she hadn't done what she did, we would have never got the Jennifer Lawrence version, which no matter what rumors you hear about whether she liked playing that part or not, there was a great part that she played, and she played a very big part in several of the movies, and in some of the best of them too. So like it was something. I don't know if that character would have been that prominent if they didn't make her that prominent in the 2000s like that.
Oh, yes.
You
She
know,
definitely was a standout. I know
for
in the
sure.
first film, and her role kept getting bigger.
Yep.
Sad what they did to her in X-Men 3, but we'll get there when we get to that retrospective, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
'Cause we will get there. But it's just so cool to see her back in
Hmm.
the outfit. And I do know from what she has said on her press tours is that she was excited to get back in the chair, and she did say she spent a long time in hair and makeup and doing that again, and she said it was reminiscent of the old days. So we definitely are going to get this comic accurate outfit, but
Yeah.
who knows what else we could get. Maybe that could be its own skin for all we know. It's just we never know what we're going to see, but it sounds really cool.
Makes me wonder what Alan Cumming's gonna look like as
Oh
Nightcrawler.
man.
That just crossed your mind just now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, wait a minute, because now if
Yeah.
you think about those costumes, because this costume and the old ones are good, for him. But like, if they're gonna do this like this,
Mm,
I mean, he could be awesome, right?
yeah.
Like, yeah. And
He's
I'm actually surprised we didn't see any of a shot of him. And maybe there's a shot of him, and we just didn't notice it. I'm sure once this trailer drops, there's gonna be like tons of breakdowns out there, and we're gonna be one of them that talks about every second that we see.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, we got Mystique back, Nightcrawler, and Beast. We got all the blue people back. And it's gonna be so cool to see them on screen together again, and just the classic ones. I know that Hank McCoy's Beast is not gonna be the same as X-Men 3. We're probably gonna get what we saw at the end of the Marvels post-credit
Yeah.
scene with the little more of an animated look for Kelsey Grammer and things like that. But
But we get Kelsey's voice at
it's
least.
still
And
his voice, and
yeah.
they still are using that mocap stuff like they do with the Hulk, so you do get him and
Mhm.
his facial features. It's just, that CGI enhancement. So that sounds cool. And I didn't hear he was actually in the trailer though. But funny enough, I did hear that Ant-Man appears a lot in the trailer. He
Yep,
just
that's
doesn't
right.
say anything. So
Yeah.
Thor is the one who appears a lot and says stuff. So it's just that's kind of cool that they're at least, and now Ant-Man's daughter is confirmed to be in it, Stature, which she is one of the co-leaders of the Young Avengers, which Marvel has been teasing for a while. So who knows where this is all going to end up?
Yeah.
And who else they still have yet to announce, honestly. But I'm trying to think of anything else that just pops into
Well,
my
we got that big finale. The finale of the trailer, what I like to call the cheap finale. So kind of a cheap shot, but it's the Thor and Captain America.
Yep.
Yeah, why I say that, folks, is because I still am very kind of butthurt that they brought him back. And it's funny to say because I just got done not long ago saying he's probably my favorite character, but that's some of the reason why. I feel very protective of this awesome story is that we got, and I don't want to see them bring him back for the sake of messing up, you know, uh, their plans like they did for the multiverse, because they'll deny it. Everyone can deny it. They can say what they want, but there's a reason why this movie used to be called, Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, and we never saw any Doom until all of a sudden it changed when political things and things in actors' personal lives and or just plain old audience reception
Yep.
on bad movies. They made a big change, and I'm not against it. I'm not against it, but I am against cheapening things that we got that were so good. And I'm not saying that's what's going on yet, folks. This is that is my worry. Yet I bet it is awesome seeing Captain show up and he says, "Hey, pal," and he reaches out his hand and Mjolnir flies through the air into his hands.
Mew mew.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Like, because first of all, it's cool that he gets to. I'm glad they're going to continue him using the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, what's Cap going to do? I love Cap, but if Thor's dropping down on Doom with all the might of the Thanos Slayer, it's like, I mean, you're talking about the axe that tore right through the Infinity Stones, in a single moment. And Captain shows up. I mean, other than being an integral part of maybe why things are happening, and him being there could help fix that is all. And Captain's not going to be able to beat Doom up. It's could be interesting to see how that turns out and what that all means. Doom's so powerful. Cap is limited. And they've done very good at being careful about where to put him so it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And by giving him by giving him the hammer, does give it a little more equal ground, at least for some power, but like, once again, what are we talking about here, right? So I still think it sounds cool, and I'm down for the ride.
Yeah.
I'm still so leery about it, like, oh man,
I
kind of
as
wish he wasn't back.
Yeah, well, as a Captain America fan myself, as you could tell from my amazing Captain America sweatshirt here, um, I was both excited and nervous when I heard
Yeah,
he was returning. Excited because he's my favorite Avenger, but nervous because they ended his story so beautifully in Endgame that it the and one of the problems I think you and I know off camera have talked about this, but now we're gonna say it live for everyone here to hear this, is that when you start making movies that are based between other movies that we've already seen, no matter what the character is, trying to tell their story or a story or whatever, you run the risk of potentially hurting those other films that are in the midst of it. And I think that it's not just for films themselves, it's for characters because character development, as we're going to talk about with our retrospective on today's episode of Captain America, the First Avenger, the first film, Captain America is one of those characters that has a strong arc throughout all of the Infinity Saga, and you
yeah.
see it come to a beautifully done ending in Endgame. And it just was so. When we get to Endgame, guys, that's probably going to be like a 3 or 4 episode uh, itself for retrospective, just because of how much there is of Endgame and all that stuff.
I would even argue that his arc from this first Avengers movie to the end of Endgame is the only arc in the MCU that was part of a complete picture in the Infinity Saga. And I say that even with Iron Man being as prominent as it is. But if you look at Iron Man 1 and 2, you could arguably say that they really, yeah, I don't know, they're not really pulling all the inspiration from what happened there towards the end of his thing, other than saying, "I am Iron Man" at the very end, right? But for Cap, it's like after watching this movie, I realized, oh, wow, Cap's been very much involved in all the tools and all of the past that goes into Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, each Avengers movie, so on and so forth, that as you go forward, Cap's fingerprints are all over this, from the Tesseract in this movie, and knowing Howard Stark, to how that all plays out, toward, knowing how Howard Stark dies, and we find that out in Civil War. I mean, so on and so forth. You could take Cap from beginning to end and say, if I had to guess, this would be this world's anchor being, if we're going to go by any of the rules that they put forth in Deadpool Wolverine. If there is one, it would be Cap, because he's very pivotal in absolutely everything that goes on, including taking the stones back to where they belong.
Yeah,
Like
that all
going,
his solo mission do that.
yeah, it's like Cap. Cap has been that. And I think there's no mistake that when you get to the end and when everybody's all incapacitated and Cap stands up and there's Thanos and his army and he straps his thing and it's just him standing, that shot of him standing against the whole army. I don't think that was a mistake. Well, I'm not saying it was, obviously they thought that through, but I do think that in the back of their heads earlier than we might realize that was something they wanted to do.
Yeah.
As early as Civil War, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think they had this idea of what they wanted to see those last two Avengers movies and who they wanted to use, and they
For those pivotal moments, at least.
yes,
Yeah,
the
in
cat
their
was
arcs.
very much part of the
Right.
fabric of that whole thing.
So yeah, finish your point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm trying to remember where I was at before, but
something about we don't want to see it being.
oh yeah, well we just want to be careful.
Yeah.
I just Marvel and Russo brothers. I do trust you, Russo brothers. You are meant to come in as the saviors of the franchise right now with these two films, and if you have this purpose of bringing Steve Rogers in particular back, which we as Captain America fans are very happy to see,
Yeah.
just have to be careful and tread lightly. And make sure that whatever story you're going to tell, it doesn't muddy up what we view of Captain America and what his story was originally. If anything, it's more of an expansion on it, not anything that's going to make us taint the water a little bit.
Yeah.
That's my only caveat I'll say to bring him back. Other than that, I'll take Steve Rogers any day.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I
So to end that clip and to end this, so I have one question and we answer quickly. Do you think we'll get this trailer dropped online within the next couple weeks?
that's a very good question. I have thought about that, and I I want to say yes, we're gonna, because I think there's enough people that've seen the movie or seen the trailer. I mean, that have been talking about it, and then the inaccuracies that could come out about the trailer. It does bring up hype for them and get them talking in the circles, of course, which is free promotion right there. And Lord knows if the rumored budget of $400 million for this movie is any ounce of truth to that, they're going to need as much free marketing as possible because they need to make this movie definitely over $1 billion to make this break even point happen. But anyways,
I don't think any of us doubt it's going to make that. Yeah.
oh no, I definitely think this is. I would lay money down. This is at least a 1.5 billion plus dollar movie.
Yeah.
And so I know that they sprung for more of a budget for the film, knowing that we're definitely getting this back. So, and honestly, most of that money there could be getting back some of these legacy actors we want to get back anyways, because most of these guys are big enough names that they all might come with a pretty penny to return for these films.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we joked earlier that 200 million of that is Robert Downey Jr. The rest of that is everybody else. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, just be careful with Captain America. I'm happy he's coming back. That's my only worry actually, honestly, is how they're gonna do Captain America, and then just to see what great story they're gonna tell.
But you think they're going to drop trailer probably in the next couple?
Trailer, I would say by this time next week, by the time we do filming of our next podcast, I will not be surprised if this trailer comes out, because I think that just increases the hype.
Yeah, I think the same. I think within the next couple weeks we're going to get the trailer online. I think we're also going to get it in front of Spider-Man. And I think Spider-Man's post-credit scene is going to be the first full trailer of Doomsday.
We may even get this trailer in front of Mandalorian and Grogu, because
that's also very
I
possible.
believe that comes out in June.
Mhm.
And I know that they are concerned, from my understanding of it, because they're Star Wars franchises you talked about before. You either really hate it or it's really good. And there's no really in
They
between.
might do a whole you have to see the movie to see this trailer
Yep.
thing.
Look what they did with Avatar. They wanted to guarantee butts were in the seat, so they did 4 teaser trailers of Doomsday to guarantee Avatar is going to get that money. I will not be surprised they put this trailer in front of Mandalorian and Grogu just to help boost those numbers.
Yes, you remember that, you Avatar fans, and you say, see how awesome that is? Yeah, with the help of Marvel.
Oh, yes, yes. Speaking
Come on,
of
James
which,
Cameron, make something original.
I just want to wrap up this segment with saying this. There is a re-release of Endgame
That's right.
coming out into theaters in September through something new called, well, we talked about on the podcast last time, but we speculated, is this a TV show or what is it? but it turns out, and I had to write down the description of it to make sure I get this right for everybody. It the Infinity Vision screening. So I was curious what this was. I did a little bit of digging on this, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is after Endgame came out, it became the number one grossing movie of all time, beating the first Avatar until Avatar decided to do a re-release during COVID in China, and it boosted back up to number one. Well, I'm telling you what, boom, Endgame is coming back, and we are taking that spot again, Avatar. Anyways, so that's happening in this September 2026. So I'm gonna just read this little write up I have on it just to understand what the Infinity Vision is, and then I could wrap up this part of this multiverse minute here. Disney may have taken its first real step toward challenging IMAX, and it did without building a single new theater. At CinemaCon, Disney introduced Infinity Vision, a premium large format branding and certification program for auditoriums that already exists. No acquisitions, no projector rollout, no new construction. Instead, Disney is leveraging current premium screens across major chains such as AMC, Regal, and Cinemark, the one that I like to go to, by placing a new Disney backed identity on top of existing infrastructure. This matters because IMAX's biggest advantage has never been hardware alone, it's brand recognition. For years, IMAX has been the premium format audiences associate with the best theatrical experience. Its business model also benefits from partnerships and revenue sharing tied to premium ticket sales, with annual revenue around $410 million and strong margins. That IMAX name itself is a major asset. Disney appears to be testing that advantage directly. If moviegoers see Infinity Vision promoted for major Marvel and Disney releases, the company could begin shifting consumer attention towards its own premium label rather than automatically defaulting to IMAX. And I'm telling you what, ladies and gentlemen, the main reason I think they're doing this is because Dune from Warner Brothers secured a big deal
Yeah.
in taking up all the IMAX screens for 3 weekends in a row. And no one is blinking when it comes to moving their movie dates around. I know there's a lot of speculation that maybe Doomsday is going to take Jumanji's spot because Jumanji moved from the weekend before to Christmas Day, so they're free up 1 weekend at least that could claim some IMAX theaters. They're going full on Doomsday for this event, and Disney is deciding, well, if we can't get IMAX, we're gonna make our own version to a degree. So, the technology gap also isn't what it once was. Laser projection, enhanced sound, recliner seating, and upgraded presentation are now common across many premium auditoriums. This means branding, exclusive content, and marketing may matter more than ever in deciding where audiences spend extra for a ticket. There's also a business incentive for exhibitors. Many theater chains already own and operate these premium screens. If Disney can drive premium demand through Infinity Vision without requiring major new investments, chains may welcome another high value format option along with IMAX rather than relying on a single premium brand. The timing is notable, with major Disney releases such as Avengers Endgame returning to theaters in September and Doomsday arriving in December. Infinity Vision could receive immediate exposure through some of the biggest box office events on the calendar. That said, this does not mean IMAX is suddenly in danger. IMAX still holds meaningful advantages: global recognition, filmmaker relationships, prior, proprietary camera branding, remastering technology, and a long established premium footprint worldwide. But for the first time in years, one of the world's biggest content companies appears to be making a direct play for the premium format conversation. Whether Infinity Vision becomes a real rival or just another label will depend on whether audiences actually care.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be interesting to see. I'm curious to go see this in Infinity Vision for Endgame just to get a little taste of what are they talking about. So we're going to see that come September, and that was the other thing they announced at the CinemaCon. So that, along with the Doomsday trailer, that was a pretty eventful day for Marvel,
Yeah, it was.
and I
Yeah.
think it did help soften the blow of the layoffs that happened just the night prior. So
Uh,
it's just their timing, but Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of the Avengers Doomsday trailer reaction that's going on right now? Is there anything notable that we missed on this reaction or on this explanation of it? Please comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Do you agree with our thoughts on these things? And what do you think of Infinity Vision? Do you think it's actually going to be the big deal that Disney hopes it to be, or do you think that IMAX is still king? Let us know in the comments below. And with that said, that concludes our multiverse minute, even if it's 45 minutes,
Mhm.
news section of the week. What are we going to talk about next?
Well, next we're going to go into our breakdown of Daredevil. We're going to jump right into our segment that we call Branch Point Breakdown, and we're going to go ahead and talk about Season 2, Episode 5 of Daredevil Born Again.
You got it. We'll be right there.